Hey everyone, I'm Rachel,
And I'm David.
and we are going to take you on a tour of the Ruby Princess.
Let's
Let's go!
go.
Welcome aboard the Ruby Princess, which first set sail in November 2008 and was refurbished in 2023. She has a capacity of around 3,600 guests. We've sailed on the Ruby through Alaska and the California coast and are going to take you through every public space starting at the very top. Deck 19, Star Deck, is only accessible at the aft of the ship and has exclusively outdoor spaces. You've got the jogging track, several holes of mini golf, shuffleboard, and center court for basketball or pickleball. Pro tip, if you're scenic cruising, it's a cold but less crowded space to take in glaciers and wildlife. If you go down one level to the Sky Deck, you'll run straight into Skywalker's Nightclub in the aft of the ship. During the day, it's a quiet glass-walled lounge with wraparound views. At night, it turns into the ship's main late-night spot for dancing.
Forward on Deck 17, the sports deck, sits the Sanctuary. It's an adults-only paid lounge area with waiter service. You can buy day or voyage passes on embarkation day. Midship on Deck 17 is the Sun Terrace, which is free to all and usually a pretty peaceful place to hang out.
Aft, you'll find the youth and teen clubs. There's also a giant hot tub and a small pool tucked away on this deck, though the pool was closed for the entirety of our sailing. Deck 16 is the sun deck and doubles as the wellness hub. Inside you'll see the Lotus Spa, which includes treatment rooms, a beauty salon, and the full gym. Step outside and there's the Lotus pool with 2 hot tubs. This area is adults only, but at no extra charge. The wedding chapel is right outside the spa.
There's a large open deck on this level. It's great for lounging and scenic cruising. It's served by the Tradewind Bar, and it is home to the giant screen used for movies under the stars. There's also a small platform where the DJ or the band can play music on the open decks.
At the aft of the sun deck is the Adagio Bar and Lounge. The bar opens at 6 p.m. each night and is a great place to enjoy some specialty cocktails, but before 6 p.m. it's also a nice quiet space to hang out. Right next door is Sabatini's Italian Trattoria, an added-cost restaurant that serves Italian favorites with sweeping aft views. Deck 15 is the Lido deck. At the aft, the Horizon Terrace is an open-air space that overlooks the Terrace pool on Deck 14 and also houses Outrigger's Bar. Right inside is the Ruby Princess's buffet. The buffet is separated into 2 parts, Cafe Caribe and Horizon Court, but both generally serve the same food depending on the time of day. The buffet has some standards like a salad station, a variety of breads and charcuterie, but also rotates theme nights on each sailing.
Right outside of the buffet is the Calypso Reef and Pool, along with the Calypso Bar. There are 2 hot tubs attached to the pool, and there's plenty of room to lounge. This is the best area to watch movies or concerts on the big screen. You can grab some freshly made pizza at Slice, or some free soft serve or premium desserts at Coffee and Cones on your way to the Neptune's Reef and Pool.
Neptune's pool is slightly larger than the Calypso pool, and also has 2 hot tubs and plenty of loungers. The Mix Bar is a great place to grab a beverage by the pool, or you can plan on eating at the nearby Salty Dog Grill, which serves burgers and hot dogs on the open deck. At the very front of Deck 15 is a platform above the bridge that is a great place for taking in the views, but it may be closed if it's too windy. Decks 14 through 8 are almost entirely staterooms, but each one has a self-service laundry near the aft elevators, which is handy on longer voyages. Deck 7 is the Promenade deck, with a walkway that wraps around the entire outside of the ship, including up a small staircase to the front of the ship on Deck 8. In the aft is Club Fusion, a large lounge space with its own bar that is often used for dance classes, bingo, and comedy shows. The oceanfront and photo galleries are right outside. There you can get help with your medallion, the Princess app, or purchase professional photos taken by the ship photographers.
The nearby Crown Grill is an added cost steakhouse with its own bar. Down the hall is the Explorer's Lounge, a smaller lounge where they host trivias and game shows. It has its own bar, but the service and seating gets super busy during activities, so make sure you arrive really early.
Midship, Deck 7 opens up into the top level of the Piazza, which is surrounded by Crooner's Bar and some of the shops of Princess. The library is a great place to borrow a book or board games, and the Wheelhouse Bar next door is the perfect place to enjoy either. It's a larger lounge that's usually pretty quiet unless there's a musician playing. The Salty Dog Gastropub is also tucked inside, which is a casual added-cost restaurant serving up elevated pub fare.
The Shore Excursions desk is right outside, and that leads to the Princess Theater. The Princess Theater takes up the front of both decks 6 and 7. It is a traditional theater with tiered seating. This is your venue for your signature Princess Productions shows or tribute artists that they bring on board.
Show times are typically 7:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. nightly. We recommend sitting in the front of a section for unobstructed views, as the seating configuration can make it hard to see over the people in front of you. Just outside of the theater on Deck 6, Fiesta Deck, is Gatsby's Casino and Bar. Gatsby's Casino holds both table games and slot machines. The smoking and non-smoking sides of the slot machines are separated by the table games and the giant bar, which does mean that it's one of the more pleasant non-smoking casino experiences we've had on Princess.
Churchill's Arcade is attached to the casino, and in there you can play classic arcade games at an added cost. The guest services desk, Future Cruise Center, and more of the shops line the piazza on Deck 6, leading to the Da Vinci dining room.
Da Vinci is one of the 3 main dining rooms on the Ruby Princess. They all serve the same food but have different decor. Da Vinci Dining Room does not take reservations and is your venue for walk-up dining every night. Botticelli Dining Room is also on Deck 6, but is only accessible via the aft stairs or elevator. That is your choice if you want to make reservations for a different time every night.
Down on Plaza Deck 5, the Michelangelo Dining Room is a traditional cruise ship dining experience with 2 seatings each night at 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. It opens up into the ground floor of the piazza, which has limited seating for some fun activities hosted by the cruise staff.
The piazza on Deck 5 is surrounded by both the Good Spirits at Sea bar, where they do cocktail demonstrations, and the Vines Wine Bar. The International Cafe is also nearby, which serves up small bites and desserts 24 hours a day along with specialty coffee. The Internet Cafe is tucked away to one side, and the Fine Arts Gallery has hallways lined with paintings on your way towards more staterooms in the forward part of the ship. The Gala Deck 4 is mostly cabins plus the medical center forward, so unless you need a doctor, you probably won't spend much time here. That wraps up our tour of the ship. Now let's share some of our final thoughts about the Ruby Princess. Thanks everyone for joining us of our tour of the Ruby Princess. We did say at the beginning, but this ship was built in 2008 and it was last refurbished in 2023, but they really, to my eye, haven't done that much to refurbish it. They, I think, changed out Sabatini's a little bit. They made that a lot nicer. They changed the Princess Links to a mini golf course, and that is fairly nice. But, you know, the rooms are still pretty dated, and a lot of the common areas are still pretty dated. It's very dark, and there are some choke points. It's just configured kind of weird. It's just very tight and feels a little bit cramped.
Yeah, it makes it really hard to move around, and everything feels slowed down because of that. Now, we are kind of nitpicking here because we're trying to give you guys some negatives because we still had like an amazing time. You're still getting the princess experience. You're having awesome food and seeing pretty good entertainment and stuff. But with that in mind, like I did want to mention that in some of those choke point places, the smell can be kind of funky. I've noticed it in a couple spots, and it's not just a one-time thing. It's actually been pretty consistent. So I've smelled some bleach in those areas, and it kind of seems like they're trying to fix it, but it was really gross. And, you know, it's on the way to one of the dining rooms, and so you do get like a pretty gross smell on the way to the dining room. So that was pretty unfortunate, but hopefully they get that kind of stuff figured out. That's the kind of stuff that's like a maintenance problem, not really like the ship as a whole problem. I do think that the rooms being refurbished isn't really a thing. I don't really know what they did in the rooms.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to refurbish the rooms on cruise ships because they're essentially little containers, but there's no plugs on one of the sides of the bed. That's a huge oversight to me, and I feel like that would have been one of the things they fixed if they had done more refurbishments, you know, more thorough refurbishment of the rooms. Still, I think the entertainment could use some adjustments.
We have a lot of sea days on this cruise. It's an 11-day cruise, and we had 3 up to Alaska, and we have 2.5 back. And the entertainment does tend to get a little bit stale the longer you go on one of these cruises that is a little bit longer, and they have a lot of trouble filling all that time because they only can have so many guest entertainers, and their cast and their crew, which is working so hard to put on production shows for you, they can only work so much as well. So, you know, this wasn't my favorite entertainment-wise that we've had, and they are a little bit older shows because this isn't an older ship. But overall, the entertainment was okay. Like, you're not going to be super bored. It's just a lot of it's a little bit repetitive, or you may not like the style of music they're doing. So we just go and find something else to do on the ship.
Yeah, there is still plenty to do. It's not like you're gonna get bored on a cruise ship, or if you are getting bored, play some board games or something like that. So, I think you're gonna have options no matter what.
So now let's talk about the food a little bit.
Oh yeah.
We have been going to the main dining room pretty much every night, and that's actually been pretty good. The menus actually have been pretty nice. Like sometimes I forego going to the main dining room because they don't have anything that sounds good to me, but by and large, they've actually been having pretty good menus. I will say they're not always posting the menus on the app before we go.
Problem, yeah.
But what did you think of the main dining room versus the buffet?
The main dining room is significantly better than the buffet, in my opinion. Now, I do think the buffet configuration is actually really interesting. I like that they separated it into two sides and including a third portion in the back of the ship. I think it really spreads the people out. I felt like we didn't have a terrible time finding tables.
No.
But overall, the buffet food itself, in my opinion, it wasn't particularly good.
No.
There's a handful of things I thought they did really well. It's really, really fresh still. Like I see them cycling out food all the time. It's very, very clean. But overall, I just felt like the options were kind of nah.
Yeah, I agree. Like breakfast is great. I feel like they
Oh,
have
yeah.
a lot of options for breakfast, but lunch and dinner were pretty lacking in my opinion. Like if you want a salad, you're always set. If you want cheese and bread, you're always set.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was really a toss up what else they would have, and you never really knew until you got there.
The things we have had, like the chicken nuggets, I thought were actually really good. So it feels really good in one way. I love the fact that you can get a table fairly easily. It might not be a window table,
Yeah.
but you can get it pretty easily. And the servers are on top of things, man. They're cleaning the tables super quick. And as soon as you sit down, they're asking if you want drinks. I think they're incredible, and the work they do is awesome. So it's not all bad. I just have a little bit of a critique of what they're serving in the buffet. So
Yeah, and the service on this cruise has been amazing.
yeah.
Our stateroom steward is amazing.
Yep.
He's really nice, and he always asks us how we're doing, what we need. And then we've had the same server every night in the main dining room, and he's really awesome. And just all the servers around the ship, like everybody's always saying good morning, how are you? Nice to see you. I feel like honestly, this is probably the nicest service we've had
Yeah.
in a long time on a cruise ship.
I really do think that the people are really happy on this cruise. We've talked to multiple crew members about getting off the ship and what they're going to do, and they all seem very excited, and they all have plans, and I love that stuff. I love hearing about what they're going to do with their free time and what they're liking, learn a little bit about them. One of the things we learned about on the first day, and it actually resulted in our itinerary being shifted around, was that we were having engine issues. Now, cruise ships have a few different engines on them, but this particular one was giving them issues, and they knew that they were having to schedule maintenance ahead of time. So when you start noticing that the ship's rattling really hard, which ours did, I don't want to knock points off of the ship for that happening. Obviously, they're going to fix it. It's on their radar. Maybe yesterday it started acting a little bit better, but we were denied passage into the inside passage for one of the scenic cruising days because our engine was having issues, and the park services was worried that we were going to break down or something. So that's just something worth mentioning.
And it's a fluke thing. Like, by the time this video comes out, I'm sure that is fixed.
Yeah.
And who's to say it's ever going to happen again to this ship?
Right.
But it did happen on our sailing, so we just wanted to mention it. And the Wi-Fi. So what is your opinion on the Wi-Fi, David?
It's definitely not the best. It's been pretty awful, to be honest. It's really slow. The upload speeds were surprisingly okay-ish for me, but the download and the browsing websites, all super slow. I feel like it was probably below average, I would say. So.
Yeah, I think the one positive I will say is that it didn't really go out completely at any point.
No.
And this is the first cruise I think we've had where it hasn't just had an outage randomly. And even in the Princess Patter, it does say that there's a possibility of going out just because of the geographical region we're in. And it did not do that. So you will always have a connection. It's just a matter of how good that connection is. Overall, I would not count on browsing a lot of YouTube or other streaming services. I definitely download what you want before you leave your house. So overall, I feel like this ship, it is older, it does show its age, but it's kind of like bringing you back to more of a classic cruising experience. It's definitely not got all of the flashy things like a go-kart or a lot of water slides or things like that, but they do have entertainment, they do have good food, they do have lots of options of spaces for you to go and to spend time with your friends and family. And so it's much more like a simpler way of cruising than all of those other things. So we've really enjoyed our time on the ship, and it hasn't gone completely smoothly. We have had some issues, but it's just been a good trip anyway.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It sounds like we're complaining, but honestly, it's still an incredible experience. You're getting the best of the best in our opinions. We're huge Princess fans, and not a sponsor, but but
not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but legitimately, like, Princess is one of the best. They win awards for going to Alaska specifically. They're the best in the business, in my opinion, and I just think you're gonna have an incredible time no matter what. Don't let the minuscule things we're complaining about really deter you from giving it a shot. If the Ruby Princess fits exactly what you're trying to do within the time frame you're trying to do it, you're not gonna go wrong being on this ship or just trying to point out a couple of things.
To prepare you.
To prepare you, yeah. So
that way you're aware of what you're getting yourself into, and you kind of know maybe something extra to pack, like pack some cards, or, just kind of what you're going to be spending your time doing. And you can always count on having great service. We had amazing service on this ship.
It's incredible.
But what do you think? Have you sailed on the Ruby Princess? Do you have any comments, or do you have any questions that we didn't cover? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more travel content from us, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. But for now, I'm Rachel.
And I'm David.
And we hope this video helps you find the right direction for your next adventure. Bye.
Bye.